May govern everyone, and welcome back to some more Dale with your honest and fun, I hope,
Yes,
host
my lord.
Melvalen Urgalen. As I say, we bring you some more Dale in the forest, seeing some Dolgoldurians lurking around there. Now, first things first, you will have noticed that there was no video last Sunday, that is the 25th of December. Seeing as I simply did not have time that last week to create a
Your orders,
video
my lord.
before I went to my parents to celebrate Christmas, as I had like 3 tests within the period of 5 days to take at university. So it's unfortunate, but I hope understandable that there wasn't
my
a
lord.
video on that day. But on the other hand, this video is going to be the
Tomorrow's
first,
journey planned out.
or going to come out the 1st of January, unless I'm miscalculating, which I might well be. The 29th is tomorrow, then the 30th, yeah, I'm miscalculating. This is going to come out on the 31st of December, so not even in the next year. So there's that. But nevertheless, I shall try to catch up on what was happening in Dale, see if we can't do something about that. Also, I do hope you all have had a nice and fancy Christmas. You were very kind, I hope, and received some nice gifts, or maybe you gave some nice gifts at the very
We shall
least.
continue tomorrow.
In any case,
Yes, my
now
lord.
we are going to,
Yes.
or rather, when it came to Christmas, you might pick up a difference. You might hear that my voice sounds slightly different. This would, I hope, be because I have a new microphone and headset overall. I have a HyperX headset as compared to, I can't even remember the brand
Your
anymore.
orders, my lord.
Never looked at it, I never
no
really
further,
looked at the
my lord.
brand, and they were
We shall
like
continue tomorrow.
easily 5 to 6 years old, so you wouldn't expect that good performance out of it, and quite rightfully they did not sound too terribly good. When I've listened back to some of my videos, I've noticed that there could be a improvement of quality to my voice. And now I do hope that there is. I have tested these headsets a little bit. I've recorded a little bit and listened to it back. And I think it sounds much less crackly at the very least. So I do hope that you find that to be an improvement as well. And anything else? Yes, I have a new mechanical keyboard and I'm loving it. Never had a mechanical keyboard before, and now that I've used one, I don't think I can go back to a non-mechanical one.
Your orders, my lord.
It's a Razer Black Widow Chroma keyboard. Smaller size, I think there was an X in the name as well. So much fun to play around with the different color combinations for the different ones, making the whole keyboard light up when you hit a key. Brilliant. That's basically where I spent 1/2 of a day, instead of being productive or something. Why? It's Christmas. Should have fun, should you not? But as I say, I had a very lovely Christmas at my parents', who live about 30 minutes away from here, so it wasn't that far of a trip, and I came back not too long after Christmas. But I do hope that you also all have had a nice celebratory thing. Okay, so I have sneakily been trying to come up with, or get back up to speed with where we were when I was telling you that story about the keyboard and headset and Christmas, and it would appear as if we are assaulting Dol Guldur. Now, seeing as Anduin has taken this place, what was it called? Ostingail? Was that Middle Forest or something? I can't quite remember. That means that we have quite a straight path into Dol Guldur, which is good. And it should be much easier to defend if Dol Guldur isn't right around it, shall we say. So let's hope that goes well. We have a backup army over there coming as well, and training a 3rd army, it would appear. We don't have a general. Do I? No, I should really get a general, shouldn't I? Those are the general units, yeah. And I'm not getting one of those, so there's that. Do I have a general which I could spare from down here, maybe? Which I could send up the river? Who's not doing anything. You're not doing anything,
Yes,
so
my
you
lord.
are congratulated, and you will lead the next, or third, right now. Maybe it's the fourth assault into Dol Guldur. That's wrong, into the southern Mirkwood. And we shall lift the darkness which Sauron the Necromancer has placed upon the forest, trying to cleanse it. Maybe we can even get the forest to be named Greenwood again instead of Mirkwood. Wouldn't that be fun? And as you may all know, or may not know, I don't know, is that Mirkwood was before known as the Green Forest. That's it. It was called the Green Forest. Seeing as elves, the wood elves of Thranduil, though I think they were under a different king at the time, possibly. I can't quite remember which king was leading the wood elves when they retreated back here. But in any case, the elves have been controlling the whole of the Greenwood, now known as Mirkwood. And it was Sauron, in the guise of a necromancer, who took up residence in Dol Guldur. Dol Guldur meaning the Hill of Sorcery. Who started to spread evil and darkness and spiders and other evil things down here, as you can see, represented by this dark area there. And it was he who corrupted the forest, and one by or a little by little the elves were forced more and more northward until they finally took up residence over here in Thranduil's Hall, and try somewhat, well, I don't think they actually try to keep the, what's called the Green Road, possibly, if I'm not misremembering. That's the road that Bilbo and the dwarves took when they went to Erebor. And they are maybe patrolling it, I'm not so sure. At least around their own hall they are. Trying to keep it a little bit clear of spiders, for which the elves do not have any love whatsoever. And they do not like having the spiders in the forest. But now you know, the forest was known as the Greenwood before. Now you know why it isn't anymore. So there's that reasoning there. Hope you found that interesting. Yes, okay, so we do have a Dalian army down here. It's not too terribly strong. We're not at war with Khand, if I remember correctly, and we are indeed not just with Isengard for some weird reason. So I do think that it might be time to go and try assailing Enmahath. That's an intriguing and a mouthful. Now they are again neutral, so it would be probably beneficial for us not to assault. But seeing as we do have quite a sizable army down here with 6 generals. What? Was it 7? Oh my god, that's 4 there and 2 there. That's 6. 8 generals down here. Yeah, we got to do something against Rune. We can't let them fester. Fester and fester. Oop, that was the wrong army. Anyways, I thought I was moving that one. Okay, let's take you all except you, and say you, and yep, you come down there, join him. They're going to be, I think that's actually perfect.
Your orders, my lord.
Okay, so we have that army there, and then we are going to take this army, but leave, say, those. And you can go here. And we are going to assail Rune again. I know, it's terrible. I'm not sure. I think it's terrible for my reputation to go back on my word of a ceasefire. But on the other hand, let's just say Darwinian wanted some help in their conquest. Yeah, shall we? Let's say that. And we, as the good Samaritans of Dalian Rivermen, who we are, have decided to join in so that we may keep the wine flowing in our capital, so to speak. As you may recall as well, if you have read The Hobbit, Bilbo actually manages to escape with the dwarves from Thranduil's Hall. Thanks to some brilliant and nice Dwinian wine. Why, you ask? Well, Dwinian apparently brews, or I don't think it's brews, but they make very, very strong wine.
With honor.
And elves love wine.
Yes, my lord.
So the
Assembling a
guards
mighty
watching
host.
over
We can go no further, my lord.
the dwarves in Thranduil's Hall when they were captured, and technically
Your orders,
just been
my
saved
lord.
from spiders.
With honor.
The guards were drinking wine, and as so it happens, Dwinian wine. And Dwinian wine is very strong. It takes, according to Tolkien, very strong wine to make elves drowsy, or to affect elves, shall we say. And thankfully Dwinian brews it really strongly, or makes it very strong. So they dozed off. Wait, faction destroyed? Who was that? It's not Shadow of Mordor. Who was that? Angmar doesn't seem to exist anymore. That's intriguing. Very intriguing. Also, it's going very, very well for the Ered Luin dwarves, which is intriguing, because apparently the Ered Luin dwarves like to win the game, and they have managed to take out one of their victory conditions. I think they had to take out Angmar. They are doing good. Rune is quite tucked in there, that's all I'm going to look at. Okay, nice and good. Oh, Dunyard, sorry, Dunland is very, very out of the game, I should say, or would say. They don't seem to have much going for them. Nevertheless, let's toggle the fog of war again and go back to our campaigning.
Yes, my lord.
So we are besieging here.
Your orders,
Yep.
my lord.
That's good. And we are building some buildings somewhere, I think. Yeah, let's just end the turn again. I must say that I think that this campaign is really close to finishing, seeing as we have managed to get 3 full banner armies very, very quickly. It's just the formality of actually winning. And I think if I manage to destroy Rune and the Forest of the Shadow of Mirkwood, I shall call that good enough. I won't go after the old 30 provinces or something. That's just prolonging the campaign after we've actually won. It's just the formality of actually winning.
By your command.
But I was saying something. Yes, the Dwinian wine is very strong. And thanks to it, Bilbo managed to stage an escape, shall we say, for the dwarves.
With honor.
Yes, my lord.
And, okay, that's intriguing. And, yeah, therefore, and in part, therefore, I think that the Dalians should help Dwinian. Not only
Your
because of
orders,
that
my lord.
reason,
Yes.
but also thanks to Dwinian wine, who set the dwarves free from Thranduil's Hall. The dwarves managed to come to Esgaroth and gather some support of the local master. With the help of his food and horses and ponies and whatever they got, they managed to reach Erebor. And even though they didn't actually kill the dragon, they scared him. Well, they probably didn't scare him away, but they lured him away. And he assailed Esgaroth,
As you wish.
as you will probably have known or guessed at this point. And yeah, they killed the dragon, or rather Bard killed the dragon in Esgaroth, destroying the city in the process, but never matter. Okay. And I was saying something, yeah, and thanks to that, Dale managed to get back on its feet, and Esgaroth again became a... Now we're starting to almost lose money. And Dale again became a hub of trading and so on and so forth. And thanks to that,
Yes, my lord.
I am willing to bet that the Dwinian wine trading, as I shall henceforth call it, if I ever call it again, or need it again, probably started to blossom. And yeah, they could send more wine up the river to Esgaroth and to Dale, and into the forest to the elves who probably wanted much of it. And this is why I feel like that Titalians should help Darwinian. I'm not sure if it actually is obligatory for or mandatory rather for us to help them just because they got improved trade. Shouldn't they be helping us then, maybe? I will have to have a think on that. Maybe I was thinking a little bit wrongly about that. Never fear, we shall help them anyways. But I do hope you have enjoyed that little lore rambling.
Your
Ooh,
orders, my
nice,
lord.
we shall help Darwinian.
Honor.
And
Yes,
we shall
my
go
lord.
forward here. Not
Yes.
yet, not yet.
Making camp here.
Oh, we're allied
We
with
can go no
Darwinian.
further, my lord.
Here we are.
Your orders.
Good.
Yes.
Rune is almost out of the game. Pretty much out of the
Your
game.
orders, my lord.
With honor.
That was where the boat couldn't traverse, so
ready.
let's send the boat there. Go a little bit quicker. You can go there and then we'll pick you up on the way.
Yes, my lord.
We can go no further,
So
my lord.
yeah, there we have that.
Your orders, my lord.
I don't know if you agree with me
Yes.
on that Italians owe Darwinian support or not, but I think that's intriguing. How many more turns? 6 more turns, and you have trolls, and you have Castellans of Dol Guldur. I don't like the look of those. We shall see what happens. We shall just be ending turns for a bit now. I think we have also trained our fill with units. We shouldn't need many more at the moment. So yeah. Also, if you might be interested to know that Darwinian is in this game, anyways, Divide and Conquer, completely made up. Well, they mention Darwinian and they know that they make wine, right? In The Hobbit, Tolkien mentions them, but that's pretty much all we know about them. We know that they make wine, we know that they make strong wine, and we know that they lie down the river from Esgaroth. So we know that they lie somewhere here at the coast of Rune, coast to the Sea of Rune or something like that. That's pretty much all we know. So
Yes,
the modding leader,
Honor.
his name being Arahir Galodirith, has gone and taken the liberty of coming up with a whole backstory to all of the troops and the lore behind this region, and anything that may concern it.
Orders, my lord.
And I think that's fair. If you don't know much about it, you can take some liberties in trying to include them and incorporate them in a game in which they would probably otherwise not be,
Yes,
shall we
my
say,
lord.
represented.
We shall engage.
So I think that's completely fine. I think that's a good initiative. Well done. Also, if you ever play Darwinian, you will get the rather intriguing choice of siding with the Avari elves or not siding with
We bring word for you.
Okay, that's
We
fine.
Cannot
I
thank you
like it.
enough until we meet again.
The Avari elves being the Dark Elves, the elves who did not visit Valinor. I think I went on a spiel about it already, so I shan't recuperate or say it again. But yeah, you would get the option of siding with them or not siding with them and get some Avari elves to your roster. So I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool incorporation of a faction or simply elves, people who otherwise aren't that represented in who's besieging it? No one is. Yeah, someone is. What? Can't see anyone. Oh, there they are.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, representation of a race or class of people, or elves in this case, who aren't represented otherwise. I think it's nice. Adds more. Now, I personally can't state that I've been reading these unit descriptions and building descriptions, but I should still say that I think they are quite well done, well written, and yeah, they deserve a read. At least the ones which are maybe more known, I don't know, like Northern Dunedain or something like that. Maybe they deserve a read a bit more. Maybe not. Maybe you want to learn more about the fictitious Dominion which exists. I don't know. It's up to you, really. But personally, I just think it's worth to have a read of them, because they have put time and effort into writing them so that you can have a more whole experience. I think it's a nice gesture to read it. Just do. You don't need to read it just because I say that it's nice reading. I probably know not many will either. On the other hand, I shouldn't kid myself. I have like maybe 30 people watching these videos, so it's not like I'm reaching a huge audience anyways. And then you might ask, why on earth would I be making these videos if I think or know that so very few people actually watch them? And the answer to that is simply, I think it's fun to play a game and at the same time talk about it, and
Yes, my lord.
simply have something to say about the lore. And I'm just so fascinated about the Tolkien universe and Legendarium that any chance I get to talk about it and go on a spiel about it, or just jump into Tolkien's world, is something that I grab onto. For instance, I really like the Shadow of Mirkwood game. That's the one with the Nemesis system included. If you haven't played it, or if you have not played it, I think that was fantastic, and definitely worth a playthrough if you like Assassin's Creed style games, I suppose, but with Tolkien universe thrown into the mix. So I think that's totally worth your time. But yeah, my friends are not as into the Tolkien universe as I am. I think maybe one is sort of at the same level, but I'm still much more invested in the universe, and I know a lot much more than he does. It's not just. I'm not saying that that means you can't have a good conversation about it, but I'm saying that if you know a lot about something, you want to go into deeper discussions, like, for instance, exactly like, why would Dale have to aid Darwinian or vice versa? Seeing smaller connections like that, I think that's really what's fascinating about Tolkien's universe. Because we still know so relatively little of his universe, if you think about it. He describes the Mirkwood, and he describes Lorien, and he describes Rohan and Gondor quite well. Arthedain, which becomes, I want to say, Region and this region over here anyways. Arthedain is this whole region, and then it splits down to Rudaur, and I want to say Arthedain, and what's the third one? I can't remember what the third one was. Not the map information either. But anyways, splits down to this. You know about this, you know a little bit about the Angmar, and you know very little about the Blue Dwarfs and the Grey Elves. You know, maybe most, or you know, maybe the most of the Valinor Elves over there to the west. And then you know a little bit about Harad and some small things about Rune. But compared to that,
your orders, my lord.
Basically, we don't know much about his world. Like, if you think about it, it's really a small region that we know about, and that we get to explore in the books.
Your orders, my lord.
Which is kind of sad, in my honest opinion. You get to go through. You get to visit the Hobbiton, not Hobbiton, sorry, the Shire. You get to go to Bree and Weathertop, so on and so forth, and that's all nice and fine. But what's really intriguing is going through Tolkien's books and building up a knowledge basis about the lore he has created, and from that context being able to derive some knowledge, or just something about the rest of his world. Because if you know how his world works, and you are then able to apply that knowledge to the rest of his world, which we must assume that
As you
was
wish.
going to do. Had he not died, he would have continued on in the same way. He would have continued to write in his own way, making sense of his world's lore, right? And what we know
Yes, my lord.
must then be
Yes.
able to be applied to the rest of his world, if that makes any sense. And yeah, in that way, being able to derive those small little tidbits from all over his different books,
Impossible,
and then applying them on something like, say for instance, Dale, or the Iron Hills, or the Oricani dwarves who live to the east, or something like that. Simply being able to apply your knowledge of the world and its history and so on, and being
Yes,
able
my
to
lord.
draw conclusions. That was the word I was looking for earlier.
We shall prevail.
You can
Yes.
have really deep and intriguing discussions with people who know, who are at basically the same level as you. And I think that's fascinating. I read an absolutely splendid article the other day. It was about why the eagles aren't featured so much in the world of Tolkien. Seeing as one of the... If you mention the elves and the Tolkien universe in one sentence, or basically the Lord of the Rings films, someone is inevitably, and I mean inevitably, going to mention, why didn't the eagles just take Frodo and maybe Sam and the ring and drop them back at Orodreth? Orodreth? That's the Fire Mountain, Mount Doom. Orodruin, that's the world. That's what it's called.
Attack!
The Mountain of Ash or something like that. Fire Mountain, I'm not quite sure which one. But it was an in-depth discussion, taking bits and pieces from everywhere, from all of Tolkien's books, putting them together in one nice article, in which she or he discussed why the eagles are basically Mayas, and why they live where they live, and why people don't take them into consideration when making decisions like... we can look back at, and they do in this journal article, we can look back at the Council of Elrond, in which they decide what to do with the ring. Elrond himself gives the proposition that the ring should be given to Tom Bombadil, and that he should be able to keep it. Counter arguments coming that Tom Bombadil is not responsible enough, and yada yada yada, which is all true, sure. And he would probably lose the ring or get bored of the ring, and then it would be lost again. And that would be even worse. But what's worth taking into consideration there is that no one ever mentions the eagles. No one ever even thinks of the eagles as a way of delivering the ring. Not in the books, not in the movie.
The enemy are bringing
And
in reinforcements.
this is so fascinating, because that just means that, well, they know that the eagles would never agree to bring the ring to Mordor and to the mountain, because they know that the eagles don't care for people and their petty problems, as they would say probably. And even the few times when the eagles are mentioned in the books, they are mentioned with some kind of awe and respect of them. You're not expecting them to save people. The way they are described in The Hobbit, for instance, is that they are swooping down to give the goblin, or screw with the goblins, so to speak, if you pardon my French. And nothing else. They don't even know that Gandalf is there. They swoop down to annoy the orcs. And I think that's important. And I am paraphrasing most of this just from the article. And if I do remember, I will go and link to it, because I think it is a terrific
Only half
read
the enemy force remains.
and well worth anyone's time who is in any way, shape or form intrigued by the elves conundrum, if you shall call it that.
Good tidings.
I
The
personally
enemy
just
general
find it
lies ahead.
ridiculous that people even expect
The
the
enemy army
elves to
clears
go
the field. Pursue
and
run
deliver
them
the
down.
ring just like that. There are a million and one arguments to be made for why they would not do that. And whenever one in my circle of friends mentions the Lord of the Rings or something to do with the eagles, someone mentioned why didn't they just carry it to the mountain, huh? And I just get so annoyed and I try to defend the eagles and say why they don't. But people don't want to listen. They don't find it funny. They are entertaining. And that just makes me sad that people are arrogant or just don't want to know why the Eagles would never agree to such a thing. Because they wouldn't. Let's just face it, they would never agree to such a thing. Apparently the reinforcement bug is still existing as well, so that's annoying. Going to be fun to go to 1.2 and get rid of this bug, nevertheless. But one of the easiest arguments to be made is that the Eagles are the servants of Manwë. That is the Valar who is most likened to, I want to say Thor. I think you can, no, maybe not Thor. Well, he's the king of the Valar, so I guess you might like him to Thor, or compare him to Thor. But in any case, Manwë's servants are the Eagles, and the Eagles are more or less immortal. At the very least, Gvaihir is mentioned in the Silmarillion in the first age, and then later in the Lord of the Ring, no, sorry, the Hobbit, where he saves the dwarves, indicating, of course, that he has been living the whole time, right? So, indicating that the eagles are in fact immortal. So that for one reason is proof to me that they would not get involved in some pesky human or elven problem like that. They just wouldn't. But even that people don't want to listen to because they are like, oh, they wanna find fault with things and they want to think that no, it's bad because of blah 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 and X Y Z, and therefore this movie is bad. And I'm not saying that the movie is good. Well, the Hobbit movie certainly is terrible. I wouldn't recommend anyone to see that. He just butchers the book. But the first problem is there are 3 films, but nevertheless. The Lord of the Rings films are good movies. I must give them that they are good movies in their own rights. They don't do everything according to the book. Of course, you can't do that. You can't expect anyone to follow every single line. I don't expect that. And they make it justice, I say. They are still far from perfect, but they're quite alright. Compared to the Hobbit movie, anyways. But oop, that's not the button. That's not the button I want. But what was I saying? Yeah, just the fact that people won't listen to you when you try to explain why the Eagles would never do such a thing as simple as carrying the ring just baffles me. To me, it's just ignorance, and I'm like, okay, so you asked the question. You want to know why the Eagles didn't bring the ring to Mordor, right? You ask the question. It would be logical to expect that you want an answer to said question, right? That's not that's common sense. If you ask a question, you want someone to answer it, right? So I'm willing to answer it. But people aren't willing to listen to the answer because they don't want to know. They want to argue about the fact why the Eagles didn't, and think that it's bad because they didn't. And it just annoys me, shall I say. And I'm not saying that everyone is like this. Of course, people might truly be interested and would want to learn. Right, okay, you ask and then you wait for me to explain. I'm more than happy to explain. Any excuse really to talk about Lord of the Rings, I'll take it and I'll run away with it and you'll regret asking. That has happened a few times actually. But you know, they still stick around, so I think they can overlook it potentially. But yeah, I am definitely going to try and get you the link to the article, because it is very well written, and I think it just illustrates why the Eagles would not carry the ring, and why they would never interfere in any human uh, or elvish problem unless the problem is more or less already solved. But if people or elves were to ask them, they would probably never agree to it, because they don't feel like they have to, right? And now I've gone on a spiel about the ever problematic why did the Eagles not do X, Y, Z, right? And I do hope you found it somewhat enjoyable. I do hope I had some type of logic behind it, and that you can see why I'm annoyed with it. I do think that many people who have read at least Silmarillion or something would find it, at the very least, a tad annoying when people just are like, oh, why didn't the Eagles do that, right? And they wouldn't. And if you read a little, you know why they wouldn't. So, yeah, that's my take on it anyways. I just hope that some people would be like, yeah, okay, that's intriguing, I understand why they wouldn't do that. I'm going to stop saying that. Because there's nothing wrong with discussion and being a devil's advocate saying like, why didn't, can't think of an example. Why didn't they do that, right? Why didn't they carry the ring? You can be the devil's advocate and you can ask that question. But if you do that, you should at least expect a response and then carry the discussion onwards. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I don't have any problem with devil's advocates. That is someone that knows they are wrong. Well, knows that they are wrong, but knows that their position is wrong. But still continue to argue just to keep the good discussion going. And they might come up with some valid responses, right? Like, why didn't they do that? Because they do that in the Lord of the Rings movie, right? So there's precedent for that. They would consider maybe going, and they do show up at more during the end of the third movie. Like, what's up with that, right? And things like that. So yeah, okay, we can discuss that. We can discuss why they showed up when they did and why they didn't show up earlier and so on. And you can keep the discussion going, and you can have a really nice discussion with different Tolkien deep knowledge, if we shall call it deep knowledge. And yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing whatsoever. Because we're having a nice friendly discussion in which we all know that, okay, yeah, we know why that the Eagles don't do that, and we don't have a problem with it. But we still want to do an in-depth discussion about Tolkien's universe, and this is a good excuse, shall we say, to do that. But this is something interesting which we're both interested in, and we want to know more. And maybe the other person can share some insight about it or something. Right? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing whatsoever. But the ignorance, that's what bothers me so much. But I do apologize for that rant. That's gone on for way too long, and I have been frankly not paying too much attention to this battle. But seeing as the reinforcement bug is still in effect, I am deeply apologetic for that. It does not seem to have been fixed by my adding of a foil. But okay, which just makes me much more interested in going and playing the 1.1 or 1.2 version of the game. But the team has said that the game is, well, 1.1 is already out, alright? And this is all fixed and nice and it works. Right, so there's nothing wrong with that. But there's still some few bugs which they are trying to work out, and they are working those out and releasing the 1.2 game or version of the game. And they have indicated that that will be out in a few weeks, maybe around the new year or something like that. And that's when they've indicated that it might be ready. So I do hope that it comes out to the new year, because that will be quite an interesting way to start the new year with a nice new Isengard campaign to bring in the new year. So if only the version 1.2 comes out, we shall do that. Just that, and then we won't have this annoying reinforcement bug, which is just going to draw out this battle much longer than necessary. Okay, so it's going to be a tidbit annoying to get them to assault us, and I don't think they will. But I'm going to do my best and hope. Oh, there fell another troll. Great. 2 trolls have fallen and they aren't doing anything. It seems like that last dude has fallen as well. Brilliant. Oh, everyone talks at the same time. Brilliant. Men of Dale, it is time. Let's do this. Ready to ride out, sir? Yes. Very ready. Good. Go there. Okay, you rangers and elves, run to your positions. Form your ranks, dwarves. I read another intriguing article as to why the dwarves are almost always Scottish. I don't remember everything from it, but that's basically an accident that they are always dwarvish. Scottish, sorry, not dwarvish, that makes no sense. Also, as you will probably have noticed by this point, this video has gone on quite long. 41 minutes at this time of checking. That's a way of putting it. And that's just an accident. I didn't think this battle would take this long. So here you are. You are treated with a slightly longer episode for the last day of the year. And I do hope you enjoyed. I do hope that my rambling about the elves and Devil's Advocate with Tolkien's works and some other discussions regarding Tolkien have been somewhat intriguing, and that you have learned maybe something. Seeing as Tolkien does not live anymore and nothing else is coming out except for the Beren and Luthien saga, which is going to come out, was it May next year? Which is going to tell the story of Luthien and Beren. I want to say Beren, I'm not entirely certain his name was Beren. They all sounded so similar. Anyways, tell the story of how they get down to the basement or most deepest dungeons of Angband, I want to say, is the fortress, or was the fortress of Morgoth in the first age, and they made Morgoth fall asleep and stole a Silmaril from out of his crown, which he wore on his head. And I think that's one of the best it's actually a love story, or a really sweet story at the very least. And I think it is one of the coolest stories told in the Silmarillion, which is basically a gathering of stories, right? It's not one story, it's a many different stories. And the trolls are dead, that's good. And I think that the Beren and Luthien saga is one definitely worth telling, because it is very, very moving. It's about a man and a human man and a female elf who meet in the forest, an enchanted forest, which the human should not be able to find his way into. He meets many, many problems and he gets lost and so on. And he shouldn't be able to get through, but somehow he does, and the first elf he lays eyes on in there is Luthien. And they immediately fall in love, as with many fairy stories. And after that it's just one problem after another. Basically the elven or her father is trying to keep them apart because he doesn't think that a human will be able to provide for long enough for elves who are immortal and so on. So it's your run-of-the-mill-ish story, but he was original, so it's okay. And they have a different or some problems, and eventually the king, he's the king, so she's a princess. The human is not a king. The elves or Luthien's father is a king. So eventually they are or if they want to be together, they have to go and get one
Only half the
Silmaril
enemy force
out of
remains.
Morgoth's crown, and he will give them his blessing. Right? Seems impossible enough, but with the aid of some unexpected friends, the hunting dog of Romei, I believe, is one. I'm not actually sure what his name was. It was not something with H, like Hador or something. I do hope I'm not butchering that. Aids them. They have aid of one of the eagles, I do believe. And through many hardships, they finally come to Angband, maybe, and there manages to sneak down to the lowest level, make everyone in the fortress fall asleep, and including Morgoth, and therefore managing to steal one of the Silmarils out of his crown. They use a knife with which they cut it out, and I believe something bad happened with that, but I'm not remembering that part too well. I read the Silmaril twice, and that's really a nice story, and I really should remember it better. But you can't expect me to know everything, can you? But anyways, I think that's a very moving and very well told love story in the Tolkien Legendarium. And that also sorry, goes to show that people claim that Tolkien doesn't have many women in his stories. There's only men who does many things, right? And that's because the movies don't have many women in them. They have like what's her name, Arwen, and she doesn't make too good a portrayal apparently, and Eowyn. But if you look at the books, you will find many stories, including famous females like Galadriel leading the elves of her own people across the northernmost part of Arda, across the icy plains, where many people die. Many elves die. Right? So, and Luthien is another one.
The battle is very much in our favour.
Without whose
Protect
help
the owls.
Beren would not have been able to get the Silmaril. So I think that's important to bear in mind. Now, back to the battle at hand. Sorry for that pause, I was taking a sip of water. Okay, so clearly we have demonstrated, or I have here demonstrated, that even though they are classified as heavy cavalry, the Eichwundia Horse Guard, butchered that horribly, do have a strong charge and a decent defense, but apparently cannot stand up. Yeah, cannot stand up in prolonged melee, so hit and run cavalry, everyone. Now you know. Keep that in mind. Those are losing, and they should be quite bad. And they are, good. So we do have some aid. Oh, you get out of that and just charge in and help them. Charge from the back, brilliant. Yeah, this battle is pretty much over already, though. When the Orcs allowed us to fire every single arrow which we owned at them, and they did nothing, and killing the trolls that way, it basically wasn't even a fight, right? And I do wholeheartedly apologize for that. If you were looking forward to some massive and epic clash of battle with the orcs and the trolls and so on, that's not what you got here. You got to see a stomp with our superior use of archers. And not even superior use, we were just standing still and peppering them. So, yeah, okay. That's apparently how you win. You rely on some bug, though it's not fun to win that way. It's much more fun to be, oh, like, okay, so they are going to charge here, let's move these people back and send the pikemen in there to aid them. I'm gesticulating with my hands and you can't see it. But, sadly, we don't have that. But, hopefully, we will get that in the not too distant future.
The enemy army flees the field.
When you see this, it shouldn't be that many days before version 1.2 is out. Of course, they haven't given a date, but they have said that they'll try to get it out very close to the new year. So we shall hope for the best. So I certainly am. But there we are. We have taken Dol Guldur. It is now ours. That's a lot of money. Let's take it. Sorry. That is Dol Guldur cleansed. Now, Dol Guldur used to change its name to Amon Lank. No, sorry. Yes, Amon Lank, meaning the empty hill. But that was a script, or it required a script. And this mod team or modding leader does not like having many scripts in his games, right? Because it slows everything down. So they removed it, and now it simply stays as Dol Guldur. And if you want to change it, well, you change it. Nothing's stopping you from renaming it. You just do that and you rename it. So that's a little bit of a change. Not massively change, but you know. Get that. Get that. Get nothing. Okay. Everything should be building, which can build something. You're not recruiting, you shouldn't be recruiting. You are soon to surrender. And our army here, there it is.
Yes,
It's going to
my
be
lord.
moving to Dorlingua
My lord.
within the not too distant future.
Impossible,
Now,
my
it
lord.
is possible that Mordor decides to send an invasion here. No, they can't. There's still an invasion going to Thranduil Souls, so we don't even have to worry about that yet. Brilliant. Everything is going according to someone's plans, not mine, because I'm not planning. So yeah. But as I say, I do hope that you have enjoyed my random spiel about people not appreciating the legendarium of Tolkien and such. And I do hope that you have enjoyed my little discussion on the subject, and that you have not found it too terribly boring, me just droning on and on and on and on. But we have now reached the 43-minute mark, and I do hope that you have stayed with me for this long, because it was really quite fun. I just got hooked with making this episode. Really nice, really good way to start off the next year, I think. So I will see you all in the next episode, and I do hope you have enjoyed. Bye, and be well.